All right, let's do 2023 predictions. There's three main points to this conversation. The first one is, okay, no, there's four now. There's 4 points. The fourth one just made itself available. There are dogs barking in my neighborhood. And I live in a neighborhood and not in a film studio. So please bear with me. It's as annoying to me as it is to you. Somebody recently commented on my video saying, oh, the barking dogs. And the crazy thing is that video didn't have barking dogs. It had the wild birds, the hardy-daws. Many of you know my hardy-daws. But anyway, there are hardy-daws, crazy, loud, wild birds, but there are also barking dogs. And I can't keep stopping and starting this video in the hopes that the dogs will eventually keep quiet. I hear a lull. Right now, I hear a lull. So let's go. And yeah, I'm just an average human being in a very average neighborhood and a very average house. And if you want to sponsor me a film studio, you're more than welcome to do so. But until such time, we might have disruptions. Now, I've covered the fourth. So now we've got three major points of today's conversation. This is a predictions video for 2023, so I'm going to cover predictions, but I'm going to cover why I didn't want to do this video. That's very important. And I'm going to cover at the end 5 things that you will feel in 2023, and that might sound a little bit ominous. What does she mean? Like 5 things I'm going to feel? How does she know? Oh, she knows, baby. She knows what you're going to be feeling in 2023 because there's a global overview here. There's a global perspective that I'm going to share with you that shows you how we are evolving, and based on that collective shift and how we are evolving and your place in the collective evolution, I know at least 5 of the very important things that you personally are going to be feeling and experiencing in 2023. I'll cover those 5 things at the end and how you can handle them. I want to start with why I didn't want to make this video. I didn't want to make this video because somebody asked me to, and I know that sounds very funny, but let me explain. So in my comment section, somebody said, oh, Kerry, please do a 2023 predictions video. Yes, absolutely I can. But then they followed on and they said, but please, none of the lessons, none of the teachings. Just give us kind of like the bullet points and give us the events, but No. No is the answer to that question. I'm absolutely not your girl if that's what you're looking for, because I spent many years, and this is what I wanted to share with you. So important to today's conversation, really. I spent many years doing readings. I'm the psychic daughter of a psychic mother who was the psychic daughter to a psychic mother. This is in my veins and it's in my lineage. And, some people have memory of yesterday. Sure, you can remember yesterday. Most of you can. Well, equally, I have the ability to remember tomorrow and remember next month and remember next year. So memory for me is not time bound, and it never has been. And that can be a very beautiful thing to give you snapshots of what's coming up. It's a very powerful thing to look at those snapshots so you can see where you're going. But for so many years, I saw so many people throwing so much money away and so much power being drained from them. And what they were doing was they were focusing on the events, saying, Kerry, give me a silver platter. I'm coming to you for a reading. Give me that silver platter and just lay out for me next 6 months, next 6 years. I want to know, just like that person in the comment section asked me, just give me the bullet points, give me the major events of my life. And I would give them, on the silver platter, there you go. And then I would say, but you don't have to walk through them. And they don't have to occur like this. It can occur like that. And you can change your frequency and you can alter your vibration here, because everything is a pattern. See, I could see that pattern. I could see the person in front of me and the patterning that they hold, and how the patterning that they hold took literal shape and literal form in 6 months or a year's time. And I could show them how to change the pattern and then change the outcome. And most of the time they would say, isn't that sweet? What a lovely thought. Anyway, let's get back to the events. In other words, they were tuning that out and shutting down the possibility that they were not passive observers. And they just wanted to come back for reading after reading after reading after reading to not be empowered enough to change the events, hoping that if they just throw enough time and money and effort and attention into getting more readings, that was going to solve the problem and somehow change the events. But of course it's not, because it's not about the events. It's about the person who's creating the events and the person who's undergoing the events, and that's you. So I want to start with this being the most important part of 2023, because it is. The major themes of 23 are, how can you be a more responsible creator? Because globally, the theme for our planet for 2023 is a shift in power. And that's going to include a shift in the structure of power that we have on the planet. So currently, the power structure that we have on the planet is very small percentage. We've liked in the past to call them the 1%, the ruling 1%, except they're not even 1%. That's a gross overestimation of their numbers. I doubt they would even be 0.5% or perhaps 1/4%. Nonetheless, these minuscule few who have been self-anointed, self-entitled, godlike beings orchestrating like these invisible puppet masters, they've been the power structure on the planet. The shift in 2023 is dramatic, and it's the beginning of a global shift into individual power and individual autonomy, but a lot of people have been waiting for the day that their government gives that to them, or a leader grants that to them, or a god even gives that. Like, who's going to give me my power back? But you know the answer. No one. No one is going to give you your power back. You take, not your power back. I know you thought I was going to say you take your power back. You take responsibility. And when you take personal responsibility, which is not blame, so many people confuse this. The moment they hear that word responsibility, they say, are you trying to victim blame me? I've had all of these terrible events in my life, and does that mean that I'm to blame? No, because responsibility is not blame. And if you can cross that hurdle, then you can shift into higher gear, higher resonance, higher frequency, and power. Because the root of all power is there. Personal responsibility. It is your ability to not blame. That's what personal responsibility is. To not blame yourself or another, but to be accountable. Even if it's somebody else's misdeed and somebody else's wrongdoing that has affected you, it has affected you. It is your wound. And whilst you can go to a doctor or a lawyer or any other authority out there, ultimately the wound remains yours. Whether it's justified or not, it is yours. And for that you are responsible to heal it. And that's beautiful. Because when that level of power is in your hands, it means that you are powerful as a creator being. So the shift in 2023 is going to keep taking you there. It's going to keep reminding you, this is a collective event. The year 2023, it's a collective experience. However, you are a fundamental part of the collective. And do not make the mistake of thinking that each individual in the collective is one person. Almost as if we were voting and you would think, well, one person gets one vote. It doesn't work that way. Because some individuals are not yet in their power. And therefore, energetically, they do not occupy space, but others are in their power and building that power, which means energetically they take up, in some cases, 10 spaces, 100 spaces, 1,000 spaces. Some people take more. In other words, thousands. So one person in that collective can be an exponential force. And it's not about numbers, it's about frequency. It's about the elevation of your personal frequency. And now you might understand why such effort has been placed upon the numbing down, dumbing down, and disempowerment of the individual. But that's rising. 2023 is the year of individual power and the shift of power structures, not because there is some kind of a bashing up against that power, but rather because there is an individual turning towards personal sovereignty. We're going to see crazy things, by the way. We're going to see weather anomalies that we've never seen before. We are in the process of ascending. So this should not be rocket science. This should not even be a stretch of the imagination when I say to you that every atom of your body is being restructured. Forget just a power structure. There is a total restructuring of the physicality of your form that includes every human being, which is, think of it like this. Think of them getting rattled and riled, which has been ongoing for a couple of years. But man, you're going to see almost like the stirring of a hornet's nest in 2023. And you're going to see some people coming out of that stirring, that shaking up. You're going to see some people come out as peace and love and compassion and heightened wisdom. And you're going to see other people falling apart because they are trying so hard to be the old version that is no longer available. The old version of themselves. And that's never going to work. Moving forward, that shifting, shaking up right? Which is a global force that's taking place upon your body. And that's going to give us the beginning of the second major theme, by the way, of 2023. Just before I give you that second major theme, I say to you, everything's being shaken up. Humans, animals. You're going to see animals behaving, I was going to say badly. No, that would be wrong. Differently. Just like humans. They're going to be behaving differently, unpredictably. Animals too. And I'm talking about your pets. You're going to see a higher degree of sentience in them. But in wild animals, some will become more aggressive and some will become more docile. And that will be very, very unexpected. So there's lots of behavioral change in all that populate the planet, including the weather. Because every single part of the planet, ascension, is a planet-wide event, and every atom of everything physical is being shaken and stirred and rocked and rattled and rolled because it is undergoing a structural change. The power shift is very much happening at the cellular level, not just at the global level. So as much as I said earlier, this is a collective story, it's an individual story too. The second theme of 2023 is control. Because as the power shifts, what was that power? Well, it was control over dominance, right? It was control over humanity. And humanity was so used to being controlled in thought, so used to being controlled in terms of the literal input that went into each human. That's the food. And that's the TV material, that's the entertainment material, the music material, all of the inputs, which are literal programs to the human consciousness, were forms of control. And that control would elicit a kind of obedience and a kind of loyalty to that overbody, to that control system. Obviously, it goes without saying, happening at a very unconscious level. And as that control occurred, that became what we would call normal. May we never use that word normal again. May you never long to be normal or for normalcy to return, because that's what normal was. Normal was what you were conditioned to. Normal was what you were used to. As dysfunctional and traumatic and chaotic and unnatural as that was normal, as in known. And you're going to see a lot of people in 2023 grapple in desperation for the old matrix. It's kind of like this. The old matrix is crumbling and they're standing there with cement trying to take those crumbs of that matrix and glue it back together again. And somehow resurrect the old structure again. And what they're going to do and how that's going to look is they're going to start defending people who should never be defended. Because there is a degree of evil that has infiltrated this planet at the political level, at the governmental level, at the social structure, social hierarchy level, at the celebrity level, at the financial institution level. There is so much darkness that in 2023 is going to have a spotlight shone on it. You would call that disclosure, and there's going to be irrefutable proof. It's going to be on mainstream media, and there's going to be more and more of this irrefutable proof, more and more of what you might call disclosure, which is to see what was unseen before, what was invisible before. And as that becomes more mainstream, there are going to be people whose cognitive dissonance is so extreme that they're going to deny and reject and excuse what's right in front of them. Those are the people trying to patch up the walls and trying to plaster them back up again as you're bringing them down. They're trying, but it's a very vain attempt. They're trying to resurrect the old matrix, and that's going to look crazy. So you're going to see a lot of behavior in people that's going to be really beyond comprehension. And watch who they defend. That's going to be a big telltale sign. And what they're doing is they're saying, look, I got used to the control structure and that made me feel safe because that was my normal. That was my safe place. And I want to go back there. I want to go back to the place where I'm not accountable, but they were, because I could always blame all of the external authorities, and that kept me blame free, because you see the confusion still there, responsibility and blame. And they're going to long for the dominance and the control that their mind at a cognitive level cannot see. And you are going to, and I say you, knowing that if you're listening to this video and this is in your resonance, this is in your reality, that you are already of the persuasion wherein you are moving towards personal authority. That is already your orientation. So, control being a big theme. Then, let me look at my little list. Rebranding. You're going to see a lot of marketing and a lot of rebranding. And by that, I mean, you're going to see, for example, the monarchy wanting to represent itself within a more modern framework, a more modern twist. You're going to see the same thing occurring with finances. So in other words, people are going to say, and they're going to present it very beautifully, look, we're evolving, we're moving with the times, and this old monetary system, or this old monarchy, or this old way of doing things, let's just move beyond it now into a higher, more productive, that's the rebranding, that's the marketing way of operating. Let's go from fiat, for example, to digital. Let's go from a monarchy to more of an individual having power. That's how they're going to sell it. It's going to sound beautiful. And you've got to be very wary when you see these attempts at rebranding old powers, because all it is a reshuffling of an old power structure, and the reshuffled and the rebranded version is going to be more constricting and more controlling. Part of that rebranding is the possibility that you're going to see the rise of world forums. Instead of the individual government, you're going to see a lot of tendency towards more global power. And again, it's going to be sold not as global power. It's going to be sold to you as an oversight body to oversee irregularities. Isn't this wonderful? So again, just be aware of what you're seeing when you see these shifts in the power structure. The only true shift in power structure is your own. It happens at the individual level, not at the external level. Remember, 2023 is all about the individual power. This cannot be overlooked or overstated. Imagine how your life would be if today you were in your power, not becoming powerful. Immediately, can you see how all of the attempts, because here's the next thing, attempts at fear triggering, you'd be immune to them. And you're going to see a lot next year, or this year, 2023, you're going to see a lot of attempts towards triggering fear events. And you're just going to look at it and go, what a bunch of hoo-ha. Do they think I'm going to fall for that? That's mental. That's madness. That's insanity. Whereas in the past, you may have. And why would that be? Why would it be that you're just going to see through these marketing campaigns, these tricks, these ploys to garner fear in order to instill more control, which it's simply, as much as it's the plan of darkness, it is simply not the path of light. And what I love about this whole thing is that there are people who are of the mentality that we've got to fight the system. You don't have to fight the system. You only have to be the solution. And that's what's taking place at the individual level right now. So immunity to the many potential fear events that you're going to see coming up in 2023. AI, big one. 2023, you're going to look at as, whoa, we came close. And this is going to be retrospectively. Let's just say it's 2027. You're going to look back and you're going to say, man, there it was in 2023. That's when AI really became very commonplace, very mainstream. Everybody started using AI to make their budgets, to create art, to be the creative force in their lives. People started relying very heavily on AI to do projects, business plans, etc., etc. So you're going to see this mainstream turn towards artificial intelligence in 2023, and there's a counterbalance. There's a counterforce, because that AI, the artificial technology that AI is exactly that. It is artificial. It is disharmonious. And I know there's going to be people in my comment section. I know, and I love you for saying it. And I do agree with you where you say, but technology is not bad. It's really helpful. I fully agree with you, but there's a limit, right? There's a place where technology is going. And again, this does not take a rocket scientist to see. There's a place where technology is going, where it is going to override the human free will. So you're going to look back retrospectively at 2023 and say, man, we came close. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We came close. But what was that? What was the thing that counterbalanced that potential of AI taking over and infiltrating into the collective mind and the collective consciousness as deeply as it was intended to? What was the counterbalance? That's going to be a beginning of what I call the golden age of technology. And the golden age of technology is the counterbalance to AI. Golden age of technology is all about true healing. Some people talk about med beds. This is beyond med beds. And on the note of med beds, I need to please remind you that your body is the ultimate technology. Let me say it again. Your body is the ultimate healing technology. We're going to get into that in other videos in 2023. But don't think that you've got to wait for this amazing healing technology when you are this amazing healing technology. You got to learn to transcend the limitation of what your mind has been programmed to believe. But nonetheless, there are going to be these technologies, and they're going to be about power generation, like alternative ways of creating electricity, the alternative ways of healing. There's going to be the beginning of the golden age of technology. And when I say the beginning, I'm cautious because I don't want you to hear me say, okay, everyone's going to have Tesla coils in their home and we're not going to use fossil fuels anymore. That's not going to happen in 2023, but it's going to, again, we'll see this retrospectively, it's going to make its way quietly into the marketplace, quietly make its way in to be the counterbalance that our planet needs. And what is it that brings this counterbalance about? You. Your consciousness, me, my consciousness, we are the rising of frequency. And as frequency raises, so you're going to find events to match the raised frequency. AI is a form of control. But the golden age of technology is very much about harmonious technologies. We haven't been introduced to that yet. You might have some ideas about, what could that be? We'll see over the next couple of years, but this is where it trickles in. This is where it starts. Very exciting, isn't it? I did mention weather a little bit earlier, but I just want to come back to weather because it's such an important point. You're going to see crazy weather. You're going to see the weather doing crazy things that are beyond predictions. So, we always have freak events, right? Like we know hurricanes happen, we know tornadoes happen, we know earthquakes, volcanoes, etc. These freak events are exactly that. They're not commonplace. But in 2023, you will see them becoming more commonplace. And you're going to say, what is this? Well, it is a sign that the planet is being shaken up. Every atom of your body is being restructured and shaken up. The weather, nature, animals, everything that is comprised of an atom, everything is going to be shaken up and restructured. And that's going to play out with some very strange weather events. And you're going to find it getting colder, not hotter, contrary to popular prediction. You're going to find weather extremes. And you're going to find instead of 4 seasons, we're going to move more towards, please hear me say that, more towards 2 seasons. Because I know that people tend to be very literal. So I'm not saying it's going to move to summer and winter, but there's going to be less of a spring and autumn, more of a summer and winter, and then that summer and winter is going to get colder and colder over the next couple of years. So we're going to see a definite tend towards major weather anomalies, strange things like seas that are rougher than usual, very unpredictable, but very extreme weather. Then I spoke about the 5 things. Remember, I said in the beginning, 5 things you're going to feel in 2023. What are those? Let me start with the first one. You're going to feel like you're off course. There's going to come a time in 2023 where you say to yourself, I don't know where I am. I'm off track. I'm off course. I've done something wrong. I've misstepped because I don't recognize myself. Anything. I don't know where I'm going. So it's a feeling of being very lost and feeling like you've done something wrong somehow. That, when you feel like you're very off course, is simply you disengaging from the familiarity of the old matrix so completely, and you're now in that unknown or unfamiliar place more deeply than ever before. That's when you stop There are many different tools that are available on my website designed exactly to support you through this. I will leave them in the description box. There's the Deep Relaxation Trilogy, the Stability Trilogy. There's my online community. There's lots of support tools I can give you. But you're going to find yourself so deeply embedded in the unknown, kind of like you're saying, I've never been here before and I don't know what to do. And it's in those moments of unfamiliarity that you need to stop and make yourself familiar with the new sense of self that you're connecting with. The second thing, this is an important one, that you're going to come across in 2023 is amplification or exaggeration of pre-existing distortions. What's a distortion? An energetic distortion. This can be a disease, dis-ease, disharmony in the body physically. It can be a mental health issue. So it is some kind of energetic distortion that's happening inside of you. You're going to see it worsen, exacerbate, and amplify. Not to punish you, but to cleanse. Remember that thing about everything being shaken up? Remember that thing about everything being restructured? Part of healing is almost always the connection to a healing crisis. And the healing crisis is when that distortion that's almost managed or manageable, that distortion is going to rear its head as if to say, I don't belong with you anymore. I'm not here for you anymore. We can't work together. We can't live together anymore. And it's going to want to unplug from you. Why is that going to happen? Because your frequency is raising. Because the planet is letting in more cosmic light by the day, by the minute, by the hour. That's upgrading the body. And a result of these upgrades is going to be all that is dense and distorted coming loose. But as it comes loose, it's going to feel like a detox. It's going to feel like a big discharge. So don't be surprised if you notice your symptoms that you're used to experiencing getting worse. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, and it doesn't mean it's going to stay worse. It means that's your sign, that's your signal. Look at that moment that you're in and see, how can I be more responsible right now, even if it hurts and it's scary? How can I be more responsible right now? Please remember to support yourself in these moments. Online community, different meditations, do what works for you, but the support is there. The third thing you're going to feel is, and this kind of goes without saying, is a loss of control. So have a look at your relationship to control. And it could be different for different areas of your life. But have a look at your relationship with control. Are you very controlling? Do people call you a control freak? Do you say things like, oh, I like to be in control? If so, it cannot be that external control is collapsing, but somehow you're going to maintain internal control, because control is an attempt at being powerful, but it's the illusion of power. That's what control is. Control is, I'm scared and I need to feel safe, so I'm going to implement the illusion of power because I can't yet be powerful. So you're going to find yourself, if you are used to being in control, exacerbation of those feelings and those tendencies, you're going to find yourself becoming more controlling to the point that it's worrying. And if you're a person who's very out of control in a field of your life, same thing's going to happen. You're going to notice something spiraling out of your control. It's at that point that you've got to remember, hold on, I'm not here to be in control. I'm here to be powerful. Again, you've got tools. Use the tools. I will leave them in the video description box for you. But you need to know that when you feel those control issues rising, it's an opportunity to swap it out. Swap out control for power. The fourth thing that you're going to feel as you journey through 2023 is fear. You're going to feel fear, and it's going to be, are we going to be okay? Like globally, are we going to make it? Are we going to be okay? Because this is looking really dicey. This is looking really scary. Remember what I spoke about earlier? You're going to see through it, but don't be surprised at your response and reaction. You are programmed to be fearful. So when the fear rises, know that. This is me being programmed. And what happens when we're in fear? Often we move into the desire to please authority, obedience, or we move into fright, which is stagnancy, not doing anything, or we move into fight, but that for the human species is not something we've yet really undergone, at least not at the global level, certainly on the individual. We've had inner fights and we've had fights with neighbors and lovers and so forth. But nonetheless, that's what fear does. Fear puts us into a triggered state. You're going to find yourself in fear. And at that point, you're going to be called upon to rise above the fear. What is there above fear? Well, there's you, the true self, the connection to the true self. Again, resources, I will leave them in the description box for you. I just don't want you to feel like, oh God, I've got to do this work, but I don't know how. It's okay to not know how. I'm giving you the roadmap, and the how is coming. You'll find what works for you. I'm just going to give you the options. Fifth point is probably the biggest one I can give you. The fifth thing you're going to feel in 2023 is lonely. Because the journey of power is an inner journey of connection to self. It's something you've got to do on your own. And you're going to feel abandoned, perhaps rejected, perhaps isolated, perhaps forgotten. You're going to feel outcast. Your sense of I don't belong is going to amplify. You're going to feel alone at many stops upon that journey. And you might say, but I've always felt this way. Exacerbation, amplification. So in other words, it's going to be very loud. You're going to feel it to the point that it's going to be like, I can't do this anymore. And that's a great point. I love it when people say to me, I can't keep going. I can't keep on with this, because that means I'm ready for the breakthrough. Loneliness is the universe calling you into a deep, soulful connection with your true and honest self. And the more you resist that, and the more you reject that, and the more you try to distract yourself by looking for someone else or something else to fill the void, the harder you're going to make the journey. Loneliness is all about connection to self. So those of you who are experiencing deeper levels of loneliness as you journey through 2023, you need to know that it is leading you somewhere beautiful. In fact, the entire year is leading you somewhere beautiful because it's leading you into you. I'm going to be back with plenty videos to support you in that journey. And I love you and thank you for sharing the journey of 2023 with me. Let's do this together. I'm going to leave a video up here for you. If you're on YouTube, watch it. It's a secondary video about 2023. I released it a couple of weeks ago, and it's about the 2 paths of 2023. It's super empowering and important. So go ahead and watch that one now. Lots of love. Bye-bye, everyone.